Welcome to Mobile Agent TV. I am Michael Thorne of Remax Little Oak Realty in Langley, BC, and my co-host is Dave Falkwar from Bridgewater, New Jersey's Remax Preferred Professionals in the Enviro Realty team. Dave, hope you're having a good time at home. We are in Boston at Remax Recharge, the last of 4 amazing events.
So glad it's done.
And you can send us questions using the hashtag MATVLive or get us on Twitter at Mobile Agent TV, as well as if you are on YouTube right now, I'm going to take a look at it. My phone's over there by Ravi. And if you have any questions for this amazing group, we will ask them of this group. So we did this from Remax Recharge in Toronto, and I really love these events. This is a couple times we've done this. We originally did it a number of years ago with Terry Conrad, Arash Khazar, and Tony Joe, I believe. And just to dig into some real cool real estate conversation, I always think is really, really interesting. Next week's guest, and I'm glad Valerie is here because you'll help me pronounce it. Next week's guest is Veronica Figueroa. So she's coming on next week's show, which is October the 21st, 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern at our normal time. I think I said Eastern properly, so I'm pretty proud of myself. We have 4 amazing guests for today's show. One isn't here yet because she's stuck in traffic, and I'll introduce Laura Monroe later on. But let's introduce Ravi Singh, and as always, we read out our guest's 160 Twitter bio. You can get Ravi Singh on Twitter at Ravi Singh Remax. His Twitter bio reads, in 10 words or less, which is weird because it's way more than 10 words. In 10 words or less, musical realtor with a love of good friends, good food, and living life to the fullest. I love my city, Toronto, and the East End. Ravi, welcome to the show. Twitter bio. Get Ravi Singh on Twitter at Ravi Singh Remax. Now, Ravi, for those people that might not know you, and I'll put the mic that way because I'm the loudest talker of the group.
Yeah.
What's your history in the real estate space?
So, been selling real estate for 10 years. Started with Remax, and the entire 10 years I've been with 2 brokerages. Interesting thing, I really believe that when you go through adversity in your life, you come out on the other end with more purpose and more drive. And when I started in real estate, it was actually around the time that I was very sick. And I decided at that time that what I wanted to do was impact people in a positive way, and I knew in my heart of hearts that Ravi Singh wasn't going to work for anybody besides Ravi Singh. So at the time I was dating a girl who was in commercial real estate. You met her today, and you know what? I decided to get my license, and the rest, I guess, is history.
And now you're a team leader.
Yeah. We've got a small team in Toronto. There's 3 agents, 1 admin and 1 home stager. And you know what? That in itself is a very special experience, because I feel like the fact that I can contribute to Justin and Sarah being better agents, that's huge, right? And you know what? Sharing and educating is I guess that's really like my core DNA.
Awesome. I just been handed Valerie Garcia's cell phone because our fill-in for Laura Monroe, who just text messaged me and says almost here. Our fill-in right now is Katie Robinson, who's drinking Laura's wine that was supposed to be for her, but now it's for you. That's what happens.
Thanks, Laura.
You can get Katie Robinson on Twitter at Mrs. MRS KM Robinson, and there's no Twitter bio.
Valerie Garcia's cell phone because
fix that Twitter bio
tomorrow.
Now, Katie, before we get to Valerie, is this was your baby, Katie Robinson, who's drinking Laura's wine, a phenomenal event in Boston. What does it mean for you to facilitate an opportunity for agents to learn? Because you put all this effort in. You're like a wedding planner. You're not getting married. You're not improving your business. You're not networking. You're not meeting people to improve your referral business. But it's obviously something that, when it gets pulled off like this, is an amazing passion. So tell us the event and what it means to pull something off this amazing.
Sure. It's interesting you said I'm not improving my business. I am improving my business. My business is just a little bit less traditional.
You're not improving
real estate focused than Ravi's. My business is making sure that our agents have every opportunity and have the best opportunities in the industry. So my one goal is to bring our Remax Integra agents that everybody else doesn't get. This is the last of 4, as you said, recharge events. This puts us up to about 3,000 people who have experienced Remax Live in the last 2 weeks. Really excited to do that in Toronto, here in Boston. We're scaling that by doing a lot of live feeds. You might have seen some of the Facebook live feeds, but there's no substitute for actually being here. So.
And on that note, you hear a lot of people that, not a lot, but a number of agents that I spoke to today that aren't from this particular region who go, why don't we have events like this? The education is so paramount in an industry that's moving faster and faster and faster. So you guys have obviously taken it upon yourself, opposed to holding one big central event, to come to the agent. And that changes sort of the events, sort of region by region. They all have a little bit of a different flavor to them.
Yeah, during Valerie's great debate, I listened to, I believe you, if it wasn't you, as one of the other participants, talk about their hourly rate, and what that feels like to hold an open house. So your time and our agents' time is incredibly valuable. We get that. We want to go as local as we can, while still providing really great networking opportunities for our agents. So while it would be great to get all of Integra together and do one centralized thing, that's a big ask, and we want to be respectful of what they have going on to do these 1 and 2 day events locally in their backyard.
And for someone who came from a different brand beforehand and come to Remax, I think people that start within Remax don't have an idea, have a clue of how valuable. I think you have a clue. You're so amazing to have this support, this backup, to bring us the stuff, because where I was, that didn't exist, and I think a lot of agents that join Remax initially don't understand how special this brand is, to bring them this information, to put on events like this, to let people get exposed to the knowledge that you're so willing to share. And you know, I talked to an agent that had lunch with him yesterday that used to be a KW agent and is now here, and one of the things he said was, I'm blown away how willing people are to share and willing to, there's nothing in it for me, and that's evident from everyone who gets on stage and then have conversations out where it's a special brand.
So we want to keep creating those spaces for our agents to share, bringing them together, bringing them an opportunity to swap business cards or share or ask a question. How are you, breaking into commercial? What's your luxury business? This brand is really willing to share, and we're not doing them justice if we don't put them together and give them that opportunity.
Well, and I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from my breakout from all 4 of these is we constantly say we're each other's competition, but if we look at it as we are all colleagues in this industry, the ability for everybody to improve is really just improving the industry. It's not about, the willingness to share is not whether it's something in it for me. It's going to make everybody better, which is going to make my transactions with those people better.
Now I'll introduce you, Valerie Garcia 1. Not that she needs an introduction. This is appearance 37 on Mobile Agent TV. One from an airport that didn't work. Keep remembering that. And her, you can get her at Valerie Garcia 1. That's why I say it that way. And it reads, Director of Training at Remax Integra, real estate speaker, fun-loving and slightly sarcastic, which I love because just the expression slightly sarcastic in itself is sarcastic, because she's way more than slightly sarcastic. On a mission to help people be better, Chief Encouragement Officer, Valerie, dear friend, show and in person, and Dave's official sit-in for co-host. Thanks for doing this again.
Not as good looking as Dave, though.
No.
Not as good looking as Dave.
Speaker, fun-loving and slightly sarcastic. Say that? So Valerie, on that note, how do you know the topics that should be presented to the agents? You guys choose breakout sessions.
Yeah.
How do you decide? Relevant in 2016, we need this, they need it, because I did notice in the breakout sessions, there was a little bit of everything. A little bit of tech, a little bit of video, a little bit of old school, a little bit of farming, a little bit of listing, a little bit of team building. How do you decide what needs to get presented to them?
So Katie and I work together on this pretty closely. We start out with a number of buckets. So we have 5 different categories that we organize all of our training that happens at Integra within. So on the spot, this is tech and social is one of them, lead management, the Remax tools, business planning and professional development, and sales skills. So we want to make sure we figure those 5 really cover all of the elements of training, but we want to make sure there's bits and pieces of everything that we do that fit within those 5 things. So we really sit down when we look at an event and go, first of all, what do they want? What do people want to learn? But then also, what do they need? And that's a really big part of it, because we could do all what you want, but a lot of it would be, sort of the same things and not necessarily
Big,
always
bright,
substance.
shiny objects.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure there's some what you need in there too. So we run it through a number of filters. What do you want? What do you need? Those 5 education filters. But then also, what are we going to talk about on the main stage that's going to be substance, but also entertaining and motivational? And then how can we tie into that in the breakout sessions? And I think we did that really well at Recharge this year. We had some really great motivational keynotes. We also had some really good heavy hitting keynotes with stats and information. And then in our breakouts, we went a little bit deeper into all of those things. So you could come and really, that's one of our goals, is that you can come and really customize your own experience at Recharge so you get what your business needs. You don't get the same experience everybody else did.
Now, it's really hard, especially in Toronto, here too as well, is to decide this breakout versus this breakout, that versus breakout versus that one. And I know in Toronto, I'm not sure if it's the case here because I wasn't asking you, but they're being recorded.
They're being recorded.
And so, one of the great things about them being recorded is now there was 12 different breakouts today. 12 different in Toronto. I don't know if there was 12 in here. Were they recorded in all 4 areas? 48 breakout sessions. Now, are those going to be available to just Integra agents, just to Remax agents? How does that get out? They're being
just to Integra agents, but we will go through them now over the next couple of weeks, and we'll start. There were repeats, some repeats in there, so we'll work with the speakers to pick out their best episode of whichever one they did, and myself, I did the same breakout 4 times, and I feel like there were ones where I was better than others, and so we'll pick out the one that I felt like it was the best, and that we will make available. But ultimately, we'll end up with 20 or so hours of video of fantastic education that can be reused and repurposed a number of different
And that
ways.
goes through your Integra's version of Remax University, which is called
Rise. Yeah.
Ravi, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yes.
Because you said that. Better in Boston or better in Toronto?
Well,
Me personally?
No, him.
me personally.
Were you better in Toronto, better than Boston?
Yeah, how do you
Better
feel?
Boston, better Toronto.
Oh, the overall experience?
I thought you were going to ask which of the 2 recharges did I find better.
Oh, sure, let's start
Let's
there.
start there.
Yeah, so, without trying to sound biased at all, Toronto was special.
Better in Boston or better in Toronto?
Because, Integra is this large master franchisor.
No, him.
We've got regions in Europe,
better in
in New England, in Toronto. But Toronto,
Yeah.
Valerie mentioned something interesting. We're seen as each other's competition.
Oh, sure, let's
At that
start there.
event, I was so fortunate to meet people that I've been across the table with, or people that are in my local space that I've never had a chance to face, because maybe they practice a little bit more in Milton or Oakville or Barrie, and we get together at something like Recharge, and it's almost like, oh my God, I've been checking you out for the last 2 years online. Now, not that kind of checking out, but the other kind.
It's a different one.
And you know what, Rav, I'm so glad that we're finally getting a chance to connect. That being said, what was interesting about New England for me, other than being a tourist yesterday, was there's a slightly different culture. And we get to, and understanding a little bit about how business is done here, understanding a little bit about what matters to people in a different marketplace, that gives you as a business person or as a real estate agent so much perspective.
I sat down on the mastermind today with a gentleman with an average sale price of $178, 70 miles one direction, 100 miles a different area, and his average days on the market is 2 years. From someone from Toronto or someone from Vancouver, that almost seems like an unbearable task to be in that scenario, and that's his marketplace. And we were talking about, it was with one of Nathan Dart's mastermind sessions, talking about listing presentations, and you hear that and you go, well, if that guy's successful, there must be something I can learn from that guy. That's going to help me in a 14-day on the marketplace, or in a 21-day on the marketplace at a sale price of $750,000. There's something that's happening there. Maintaining a relationship with us over 2 years must be such a difficult task.
There's so much to be said for seeing how other people practice the craft of real estate, or what their markets are like and how they handle it. It was so nice to come here to Boston today and see folks from outside of Integra, from Remax in Florida who came, or Remax from Integra in the Ontario market that came to just experience different people and network and, you know, a different market. Like, that was pretty awesome. Like, that's the good thing is that you can go to any of them. You could go to all of them and get a totally different experience, meet different people. It's awesome.
Now, Laura Monroe just shows up. We're gonna move
Laura's
her over
not
to
in the picture. We gotta move her.
No. You're safe. But wait,
my seat right
before you go, she took your glass of white wine because
That's
you're
what happened.
out of time, which is fine. I bought you a glass of white wine.
You know, a different market.
Katie, amazing, amazing
Thank
production
you for
today.
being
It was
here.
ridiculously amazing job. Appreciate all you do. Thank you for having
Appreciate
us.
it. Thanks for having me on.
Laura Monroe
And
shows
see you
up.
soon.
We're
I'm
gonna
going to
move
take
her over to
this.
No, you're safe. But wait, before you go. Come on, Laura Monroe. Come on in here. You're out of time. So I will introduce you to Laura Monroe, and as always, we read out guest 160 Twitter bio. This is your second or third appearance on the show. You can get her on Twitter at Laura Monroe, Laura. And her 160 Twitter bio reads brand strategist and industry engager, VP of industry for at Real Satisfied, director corporate marketing at Placer, speaker social blue jeans. I will introduce you to Laura Monroe. Football, real estate, smiley face emoji. Welcome to the show, Laura.
Thank you, Mike.
What's
Now-
missing from there is
Best hair in real
best
estate.
hair in real estate.
That's a different Twitter account, though. Do you actually do that one? No, someone else does that.
No, someone else does
Someone else
that
does
for me.
best hair in real estate. For those people that don't know Laura Monroe, your history in the real estate space.
My history goes back to 2003.
real estate.
I was a listing and technology coordinator for a Keller Williams team
Best hair in
back
real
in the
estate.
Bay Area.
That's a different Twitter account, though.
Early 90s or 2000s. Someone else does. Evolved into
Um,
owning my own firm. I decided I wanted to be a virtual assistant and own my own firm. So I managed my own company, doing marketing and technology, which evolved into social media and doing everything else. Loved doing that. Did that for about 12 years. I was lucky enough to keep all of my clients that I started with. So I was kind of really blessed in that way. And then I got a call from from Brad Inman to join Inman. And, I think the past 4 years, I've just been sort of on the social media, the faster track of real estate. So learning a lot about what's going on in the industry, learning a lot about what empowers agents and brokers, which I think is where I've really found my passion.
And a big move about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, to Real Satisfied 2 years ago?
Year and a half ago.
Year and a half ago, and we'll get into Real Satisfied
Yes.
2 as well. And now moving on, or being involved somewhat with Placer 2 as well. Want to dig into the guy. I love these conversations to sit around and sort of go through them. And I told Valerie this story at breakfast this morning. So we're staying at a very nice hotel. We're staying at the Seaport. Fantastic, beautiful hotel.
beautiful.
And so I took a ride from the airport over to Seaport, and I've got like one carry-on bag and a suit, right? And I was paying my bill inside a taxi cab. I didn't get Uber over. Inside a taxi cab, waiting for the receipt to print, and there was a guy holding my bag, holding my door open, being welcoming to the hotel. And a little bit of me goes, I got one bag, now I don't have any U.S. money on me, and I gotta tip this guy, and he's doing a nice service. It was great service. So he brought my bags in, and he put them off to the side, and he said, here's the front counter. I went in to check in, really nice guy behind the counter, and during the check-in process, he says, oh, by the way, on our property, there's no tipping. It's all service included. And the moment he said that, my experience of what just happened at the front door changed. And opposed to saying, okay, he's being nice to me because there's something in it for him, he's being nice to me because he's providing a level of service, right? He's providing a kind of experience. So I go to grab my bags, he goes, no sir, we're going to bring them up to you. Now I know that I'm not allowed to tip the guy. Now it's just a great experience. So how can we in our industry, Laura, provide this great experience, but in some sort of a transparent way that they know they're doing it for the great experience, and that it's not this salesy, I don't know, it's just, the last couple of days at the hotel, very, very different. Once I went, oh, I'm just getting great service.
Right.
Change.
Well, I think when you work from a mindset of the customer, where you make the customer the center of everything that you do,
some sort of a
and
transparent
you realize that what you're actually trying to nurture is a lifetime relationship, a lifetime client, rather than a transactional client, you shift your mindset from just it being, I just need to get to the closing table, to I want them to come back to me. I want them to know that they're going to get a great customer experience, not just because I say I can do it, but because it's what I believe in doing. And I think that only happens once you make them the center of their digital journey, make them the center of their experience all the way through. But the minute you do what everybody else does, which is it's transactional, it's I just need to get to the closing table and then I can move on to my next lead, then you're shifting your mindset away from lifetime legacy business to just transactional.
Okay, and what's that mindset, Ravi? You have that mindset because I heard you speak the last couple times. Something that's in you, it's a Ravi Singh thing, or something that's a decision for business. And if it is something that's in you, how do you get an agent that's not building their business that way to understand that that's the only way?
Well, when you look at it from a dollars and cents perspective, the cost of acquiring new business versus the cost of having a repeat client,
and what's that
there's
mindset,
an extreme
Ravi?
difference, right? And if you spend resources for basically a one-time client all the time, you'll find that just from a numeric perspective, you're in a poor business model. So if you make that argument to someone who's not intrinsically ready to just share to the world, they'll see it. The other thing is, I think events like this, or overall sort of mentoring, or top-down, sort of Dave Laniger right through the whole Remax organization, culture. You can evolve that as a company, then you know what, you're building that kind of process. The other thing that I think is really important is forget money for a second, and that's obviously what we're in this business to do. We're not non-for-profit. We're trying to build profitable empires. But you know what? Forgetting that for a second, if that's your whole why, you can then evolve that as you're going to find there's other things you can do than real estate, right? Because real estate is not a quick paycheck, right? And the people who, I think Val, you might know this, but in Toronto, the lineups are out the door of people who want to get their real estate license, and I'm sure probably in a place like Vancouver, it's the same thing. Guess what? The line on the way out is the same, because people realize flexible hours, unlimited pay is kind of a myth. You know what I mean? It's more like, go wherever your clients want, when they want, so to speak, and
hard work.
And barely get by.
It's not HGTV, and I think a lot of people do get into it. It that way. It's hard work, but it's relationship work, and I think that's the key. Is you've got to go into this business really wanting to create relationships with people. That's got to be your why.
And I think along with finding the relationships that work, it's finding the opportunities within that relationship that help you discover new opportunities and new clients. Because you have to always evolve. You have to evolve your service. You have to evolve with the different types of people that you're going to be working with. To be able to pivot where you need to pivot in whether it's your service, whether it's your marketing, whether it's how you're doing the opportunity.
And the thing about Valerie, my experience at the hotel was they saw a person, a hotel, whatever, a number, a guest. They saw a person come through and said, this person's emotional, right? He's an emotional person. And if I treat him like a person and grade him a great experience, then that is good for business. And it comes down to your talk a little bit today is, the idea that, leads are people. They are people with the same wants and feelings and emotions. And if you allow them to have a great experience, they will react the same way you do when you have a great experience, which is tell everybody. This hotel model is a model because it's good for business. So talk about that perspective of, everyone we'll deal with is a person, especially in real estate, because they're buying and selling very emotionally for very happy reasons, just got married, having a baby, very, very sad reasons. Getting divorced, lost a husband, all these things. But they're always emotional. The importance of we are in the people business opposed to in the lead conversion business. Talk about that.
I think it seems so crazy that in this day and age we're still talking about the golden rule, and we're still talking about treat people the way you would want to be treated, and But I think it still has to be reiterated all the time. Are you talking to people the way you would want to be talked to? Are you marketing to people the way that you would want to be marketed to? I think we all admit that we throw away all these flyers in this day and age, but we still send them out. Why are we creating?
It's just one deal, right?
Exactly. Like, why are we trying to create relationships in a way that we wouldn't want people to create them with us? Again, like my session, I talk about the always be closing myth, and I hate that term. Marketing to people. It's the fact that we constantly go in for the what's in it for me, as opposed to thinking the person on the other side of the table is thinking the same thing. They're thinking, what's in this for me? And if we don't meet that need, they don't care what we see. Like, why are we
and a question came out on Facebook, one of the groups out on Facebook, where it was, where did you find your last client? Like the client that you're working with right now, where did you find them? And out of probably 30 answers, I would say 25 of them came from my sphere, from a referral. And this wasn't my first time with this client. This was a repeat client.
Yes.
So again, I think it's realizing that people are people, but it's instead of thinking about people as your past clients, start thinking about people as repeat. And build the brand advocacy, help them build the narrative of your brand story, and keep doing what this wasn't my.
There's something really interesting. Real estate agents are always being sold to, right? There's always somebody with some kind of new, solution to business growth issue. And every time somebody cold calls me, I give them some time, and then I tell them, you know what? I can't take on any more clients. I'm just too busy. And they'll always stop because their script is saying, would you like to earn more commission, right? Or would you like to earn more business? And I kind of tease them and I play with them a little bit, but the truth is, we are growing at an exponential rate because our brand is 100% relational. And everything we do is, that expression commission breath has no commission breath. It's literally, we want to better your story.
That was my experience at the hotel. There was no commission breath.
Yeah.
And it changed everything instantly.
So I'll share another Boston experience. So today I went to a place called George Howell Coffee, or George Howell Coffee. I pulled it up on my Snapchat because I was so impressed that I had to Snapchat this place. And it was amazing coffee. It was quote-unquote overpriced coffee at a real hipstery place. And then I walked around the corner after spending a fair bit of money on this coffee, and they said, hey, come over. They had this local farm-made honey. They had these 5 different types of nut butters, like almond butter and hazelnut cocoa and all this kind of natural organic stuff. Then they had these 2 seltzers, and they had all this stuff for free. And they said, you know what, how was your coffee? And I said, it was really good. Here's some non-coffee stuff. They took me through an educational process where they told me all about all these different things that they're offering, and I realized that their brand wasn't about the $4.25 latte. It was about this feeling. It was about this experience. And every single person in there was, posting on Snapchat, was, doing different things. The most expensive wines at the LCBO, which is what we have in Ontario, you go into the wine store and they, you get samples and they take you through an educational process. Imagine your investors that are real estate investors. You could sit them down in a private dining room and go through, these tools that you have to help them, yield a better return. Or imagine the first-time buyers. You can sit them down and educate them on the process so that when it's time. And by the way, maybe in high school you start this with kids, and when it's time, they won't forget that. Stop thinking about, okay, who's looking to move this week? I'm going to knock on every door and find somebody. And start thinking about, well, how are you building a better value story for people when it's time, they'll come find you. Push versus pull marketing.
Yeah. Well, and I love the wine analogy. If I can just kind of expand on that a little bit, because
it's a good favorite topic.
It's a good topic. People
And
like
you're
it.
without
But
the wine.
and I don't have a glass of wine, but I'm thinking of it. But so for anyone that's been to Napa or gone wine tasting anywhere for that matter, one of the things that's so attractive about it, along with what you said, which is the walking through the process of the grapes and how they're, all of that is that each winery has a different story. Like each vineyard and each winery has a very different feel. And if you were to sort of metaphorically use an agent's business, there is no formula that is more special to a consumer than having a very different feel and a different experience. So, you may go to one vineyard and it's small and there's like a very small winemaker and they has a very different grapes from other, and it's just a blend. And I think that is what makes it so unique, is that every time you go, it's a different experience. There's never, you're not getting the same, and I think the industry is getting to that point. You and I were talking here where everyone is following the same formula and it's sending out the same flyers, sending out the same everything. Instead of creating their own story, which makes their brand of real estate unique, then we're gonna get bored real quick.
I mean, it's like I said today, personalization is the new customer service.
Right.
Like, I don't want the same experience everybody else has. I want it to feel like it was just made for me.
But on that note, Valerie, and it's a bit about my talk today, is if you are trying to create a repeatable experience that appeals to everybody, it's never going to be super relevant.
But it should feel personal to me. Like,
it should feel personal.
Even if you have a service strategy that works, it should still feel like it was personal to me.
And it's
Like, and this is where I kind of come unglued with the whole closing gifts. Like, if you give every single person, like, don't get me started on a name brand, product, but you gave every single person an engraved something.
Right.
And that's what they got. I feel like, okay, what do you have, like 60 of these sitting in your closet, and you just pull one out every time? It sort of starts to feel a bit like you didn't even think about it.
Okay, let's talk about closing gifts in a little way. Not really getting closing gifts, but there was great debate in Toronto, great debate here. Ravi and I saw them both. And one of the issues was closing gifts, and it's funny. We both had someone that was pro closing gift and someone that was con closing gifts. And both people that were con closing gifts still said they tried to create experiences in a different way other than a closing gift. And to me, and the audience turned on them in both markets, went, that's a closing gift. So what happens a month later? It's a barbecue. It's still a closing gift. The idea, though, what they all had in common was trying to make it something memorable for them by identifying what's important.
And I mean, I get where they're coming from. They're not saying, look, I'm going to wrap something up in a bow and hand it to you on closing day. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create an experience that's personal to you, that's going to continue to make you feel like I appreciated your business. And I can see where they were coming from with the difference, and I think that's really where they should be, instead of that, everybody gets whatever. Now, thankfully, the people we had on the great debates were very much about personalizing their closing gifts. For example, I loved the example today where she's in a coastal town in Maine and she gives them bicycles. I love that idea. That's so cool. That's not a engraved cutting thing.
But that being said, if you're not a bike aficionado and you care nothing for biking,
but she takes the time to get to know whether they are.
And here's something that's funny. It just happened just now. A text message just came in, and I think people overlook these little things. So I have a client of mine that, I want to tell a story right now, Bill and Moina, that bought a house, an apartment. Their kids have grown up, and they moved out in the spring. They bought an apartment in the spring, and then they spent the entire summer in Ontario. They just got back home to Langley, and it was time for them to renovate the kitchen. I closed the deal 6 months ago. This morning, I got a message from her saying, "Hey, is there any way you could find out where the seller bought his flooring at? Because we want to rip out the cabinets. We're going to have to fix a bit of the flooring. Could you please find out?" Absolutely. I contacted Steve Klassen, another amazing agent in my marketplace. He was away on vacation, got his assistant to find out. The seller owns the flooring company.
Wow.
Right? So they sent me the phone number, text message, and I gave it, and she just said back, "Fantastic, we got some flooring, thank you so much for helping." And the issue there is, what little effort did that take? I could have said, "Well, I don't really know they got the flooring." Like, it took me like 10 seconds to be involved on long term about something that they're interested in, and maybe that's who I am. I just don't understand where and here's the other thing too about that relationship. 6 months later, she thought she could still ask her agent, "How can you help me?" And that's something our team does. It obviously lays that foundation. But that stuff happens to us all the time. I want them to know that they can still call, pick up the phone, and get some information, and I can still help them. So quickly we do, and we talked about this. Next, and we're on to the next thing. So let's talk about bubbling up and Real Satisfied and reviews. You and I had a great conversation today about this idea of when you solicit feedback from every single one of your clients, and you can look past the 5 stars, and you can start to really identify what it is that caused them to feel like you were worth 5 stars, just not a top level thing. It really could impact your awareness about the little things. We'll talk about, because Real Satisfied is now, you said, 1 million reviews?
Not quite 1 million, no, but we're probably over 400,000.
Close to 400,000 reviews you received. There has to be, when you talk about big data like that, there has to be a common theme about those that really have a connection to that and the importance of analyzing that and then trying to repeat that experience.
Well, I think one of the things that we've learned through seeing the return survey results is that, first of all, 99% of people that go on to leave a review or a test are really happy.
There has to be,
there are some
when you
amazing
talk about
agents
big data
doing
like
amazing
that,
things.
there has to be a common theme
I
about
think the other
those that
thing that
really
we've
have a
learned
connection
is
to
that
and the importance of
they,
analyzing that and then trying to repeat that experience.
and Jeff Turner will use this a lot, he'll say when a client raises their hand, take the time to fill out a survey and leave comments that really reflects their experience. These are the people that are identifying themselves as brand advocates, because it causes them in that moment to really be thinking about the details of their experience. And so even consumers can be transactionally minded. Phew, I got through the sale, I'm done. But if they actually go and sit back and think about how long it took them to get through the process, the hoops that they had to go through, the moments of stress, and how their agent was the one that got them through that. And I tell this story a lot. I was out having dinner with Amanda Todd the other day, and we were out having dinner, and she said, I'm sorry, I know it's 9 o'clock, but I have to take this call from my client. And she was on the phone with one of her clients, and I overheard her say, yes, this is where most sellers panic, but we're not going to panic. And, sellers and buyers get into these situations that are beyond their capacity and their familiarity to really understand. And so there is a big job. When we solicit reviews, we have to get past that. We have to really get the feedback, because we find out what our unique value proposition is. And we find out what it is that we're doing well. We find out what it is in our business structure that we are not doing well, or maybe there's someone that we use in our business that isn't representing our brand very well. And we find out what customer expectations are going into it and how we fall through that. So if you're not getting the feedback and you're just listening for
So you
reviews,
said just on that one, Laura, you feel that review and feedback are two sort of
totally different things.
And we're in a sort of give me my 5 stars.
Yes, and that's exactly where we are. And the key is the opportunity is so much in the post-close opportunity. When 95% of consumers that go online to look for an agent have never heard from their past agent ever again, and 78% of sellers actually find their new agent based on referral from a friend or family member. There's a huge gap, and there's a huge opportunity where agents are literally dropping the ball after the close of a transaction. They're not following up with those relationships.
I feel like I'm about to interrupt the most important meeting that's happening today.
Yeah,
It is.
You're live on the
live
internet.
on
Go ahead.
camera.
Go ahead, come back here. You're live.
Based on referral from a friend or family member.
Okay, can they give us 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all right. It's all right. Great staff here at the Boston Conference Center. They're getting ready to kick us out. But sorry.
What I was going to say is, so we're live on camera.
There is opportunity.
Go ahead, come back here,
If
you're
we're
live.
looking for the holy grail of what the industry is not doing, it's not following up in post-close relationships.
Okay, and this, Ravi, you said
And
this
you're not
before.
going to find that out
Great
with
staff
just
here at the
soliciting
Boston
reviews.
Conference Center. Yeah, no, the thing went off and it got all kind of, she needs a minute. So Ravi, it's funny that you say it, because Laura and I had this conversation today about it, and you've already said this. You've put the effort into getting a client. You've put the effort into building known like.
Yes.
You've put in the time and patience to build trust. You've executed against your profession, helping them buy it or helping them sell a property. You've proven that you're capable of doing your job. You get into the closing table, you move the man, and now it's just happy birthday, how are the kids every 3 months, and they love you and they're going to send you every, but they're like, let's start that process all over again. And it's in this follow-up, this review, this how are things, it's so much easier to just remain relevant in a very honest human way in between the homes that they buy and sell. It seems like a crazy way to go about doing business. So in between the homes and sales, you're very much like, let's have some fun. Let's keep connecting on a it's not work.
So, you know what? I do want to say that it's fun work.
Yeah.
So the reason why I do say it's work is because, you know what? I would love to spend more time with my kids and more time vacationing and more time with my, hobbies. But my work, when I'm working, I'm not working on cold prospects. I am working on deepening existing relationships and building more advocacy. The way that I do that is the way that I choose to do it, which, you have a choice. You're going to do things you enjoy doing. So it's fun, right? Sure. But in the same breath, we're sending out 200 real estate reviews of what's happening in the national market, local market, and the hyper-local market to 200 of our favorite clients between November 1st and December 1st. Now that'll be work. We're throwing an event on October 23rd, and we're garnering RSVPs. We're bombing personal messages. We're doing all of that because we understand there's a benefit to that, but it's work. I think the key thing is real estate business by design is a great thing, right? We're all franchisees of RE/MAX, and we have this opportunity. And when I had the opportunity to meet Walter Schneider, he's the one who said, we kind of took the business and said, let's put it in the agent's hands. They really changed the way that money was allocated, and they said, agents, you're entrepreneurs. The beautiful thing is no one has to do it the way I do it. No. Right? I make a good case that there is a benefit to doing it this way. But hey, if you're an awesome open house guy, or if you're a fantastic door knocker, that's great too. Let's put in the agent's hands. But what I look at and what I know is the average Torontonian moves every 5 years. If you have 100 people in your database, 20 of them will move this year. If 20 of them sell a home and buy another one, that's 40 transactions from 100 people. That 100 people should cost nothing more than $2,000 to $3,000 to be a rock star follow-upper. Well, if it costs you $3,000 to end up with 40 closed transactions, you've got a profitable business.
And following up with people that obviously you like. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you don't get to the closing table when there's a conflict in personalities. I've learned that. Like, you can drag them there, but long gone are the days of our team working with people that we don't really want to be around. So follow up is with people you like.
And you know what? I'll tell you something funny, Michael. This weekend, last week Friday, I got a call from. Let's just call him.
It's like you don't get to the closing table when there's a
Mr. Jackass, all right? And Mr. Jackass
it's YouTube, you're allowed to say that.
I'm allowed to say that, right? So Mr. Jackass found me online. And he's the only Mr. Jackass that I've met all year. Right? Like, I needed an appraisal, and I hate my brother, and I'm living in his house. Oh my God, this is why I don't spend money on online discoverability, right? So it's like, you know what? I mean, you're in a position where you get to say, I'm hiring you as my client.
Yeah.
And I like to think of myself in that position too. Now we're trying to scale, and we're bringing on new members, and we're building, continual pipeline. But you know what? If you're not good to me,
but that culture won't change. Yeah. That culture won't change. Question, I sorry, I'm being so tired, and I'm jet lagged. I don't think I've asked it yet. Have we talked about the difference between generating the leads and buying leads? Have we talked about that yet? No, we haven't talked about it. Okay.
And I love that when
we're talking about this. So this is the thing, and it's probably more timely or more prudent that we're talking in the States, although three of us are Canadians. But that culture, the idea of buying leads versus generating leads. This is what I've realized, like, talking with a lot of Americans about it, is when you're buying a lead, that lead wants a real estate agent. So when you're generating a lead,
and it's probably more time
that
or more
client wants you.
States, although 3 of us are Canadians.
That is such a, you're already out of the gates. They just want a burger. They don't care where it's from. They're and we're in Las Vegas standing outside the Shake Shack for an hour to get our burger because I didn't want a burger. I could have wanted the MJ. I want a Shake Shack. And that changes things dramatically. I still don't understand the desire just to buy a lead from someone who just wants a hotel versus I want to stay at the Seaport because it was an amazing experience.
Or I want that George Hubble coffee.
Yeah.
I don't care what it costs.
So Laura, when we talked about this morning, sort of that sort of you're like, I get it, that resonates. So someone who talks about brand and experience and obviously follow up and loyalty, doesn't that make more sense to be the one that they will come to you and want you?
Absolutely. But I think what's happening is that we're still systematic, right? We still want to take a somewhat systematic approach so that we can scale up. Because if we don't, we get lost in the minutia of the industry and transactions. And that's really what happens, that people get lost in but when you take a more, I think it's just broadening your mindset so that you have systematic, right? You're thinking, just again, you're not thinking transactionally, you're thinking relationship-wise. After I got done with my sessions, I had a lady. I had a Bravo. But, I had a lady.
Yeah, go ahead.
You guys finish.
Yeah.
I had a lady who was a broker. She came up to me afterwards and she said, I was talking about storytelling. She said, I just want to tell you that I do use storytelling in my business, and I make every client that I've had a wonderful experience with part of my family, and I tell them that, and I tell them what it is that I loved about them as people, not just as, hey, thanks for the job, thanks for the closing, but what was it that I loved about working with them as individuals? And once I got that across to them, then that creates you're just upping the relationship level. You're taking it beyond, you're deepening that. And there was something that I said earlier today, which is that, relationships don't happen because of action. Absolutely. They happen, and those interactions build over time. And I think that if we can, in the United States, where people do talk about generating leads or buying leads, deepening that, we're finding that the really hard part is that there are plenty of leads, which have crap leads.
Yep.
But what happens is you spend so much time sorting through the crap leads and sorting them out, and who do they go to and where do they go, and I think that you're taking yourself away from a relationship that you should talk about generating leads.
I totally agree. I mean, one of the things too as well, I think agents get into it, and I get it because I don't think they know the answer, but they would rather write a check than try to figure it out.
Right.
And one of the reasons why I can tell you that our YouTube pre-roll ads, for the pennies that we put into it, returns such a great investment is because people would rather buy the word real estate for $5, $10 a click than create a video so that they could run a pre-roll ad. Because people just want to cut a check and say, get me my clicks, opposed to, I got to create a video, and then on YouTube ads, you can promote that for pennies a click.
Well, and
I think a lot of people, they just want to write a check to the next website or the next CRM that's just going to be a magical.
I lay some of that responsibility in how we're teaching and training agents. I think that I think that conferences and speakers and marketers do kind of a disservice in some ways by not being honest about really doing the hard work. We want to go out there and talk about the new flashy thing. I once had a conversation with someone in technology that said, the reason why there are so many different platforms and softwares and services and technology is because there are so many inefficiencies in real estate to take advantage of, including agent and broker inefficiencies, that's why they stay in business. If we stop chasing the dog's tail, going around in circles, and really understand what works, really understand what works in your business, and align that with what works for the customer, then you're going to find, I'm not saying that you'll never buy another lead again, but I'm saying that you're going to start scaling and ramping up the business in ways you've never understood before. for you, not for anybody, not comparing anybody else's stand at your own.
Yeah.
There's another part of that sort of
In your business.
lead purchasing process, or for that matter, online leads that are generated, that I think people need to understand. And Michael, this you talked about in Toronto very well. You articulated zero moment of truth. And you know, if you're attracting leads that come to you because they found something online that is out the box and that's not you, guess what? You're going to be in a 3-month process or 10-month process or whatever it is with someone that you don't want to be.
Yeah, because the expectations are not going to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely, and I do agree with you about the speakers, and one of the things that I've really admired about the recharge events and the effort now. See, I understand.
We're starting to get wiser.
I understand. I really like to listen to a well-polished speaker, but I would rather listen to a rough speaker who's actually a real estate agent going, here's my listing presentation and here's why it works. And I'd rather guys stumble and have bad slides and actually have a takeaway. I think more and more, Ravi and myself and Nathan Dart and Kim Miner, and look at all the agents that were on stage today, I'm hearing people that are actually doing it. Jesse Peters and I get to go around and teach a video boot camp, and we show them how we're leveraging video, but one of the reasons why it resonates is because we're actually agents with really good businesses actually having time to do business. I think if I said to you, hey, I don't really sell real estate, and so you need to knock out 3 videos a day, you're like, but you don't show houses and do CMAs and do all of this stuff. I think when we hear from people that are within the industry, when you say that this is actually working, I would way rather hear from a mediocre speaker bringing great content, and I think we are learning that lesson. Because I think the flash is all great, it's exciting, and we get pumped up, and then we go home and we realize we don't actually have a tangible skill to knock out to improve our business.
Well, and we see that, I bring things to the table simply because we're seeing this from
people that are within the industry.
consumers.
When you say
When we get to take a peek into
way rather hear from a
what their
mediocre
most
speaker
important factors of
bringing great
influence.
content, and I
They're
think
not
we are
commission.
learning that lesson.
They're not how flashy
Because I think the flash
marketing.
is all great.
They're not that you're on
exciting, we get
Snapchat.
pumped up, and then we
Those
go
are
home
things
and
that
we realize we don't actually
are
have a
far
tangible
from the important thing. They want to be able to trust their agent. They want them to have the right knowledge. They want them to be able to be,
Do they care about
do
me?
they care
Will
about
they be able to
me?
give me attention?
Exactly.
Are they going to fight for
And
what I'm interested in?
I said something today that really resonated at the end, where in my
Humble
session
brag.
today. No, but
Maybe
I
that?
just, but there's those clues
Yeah,
from
yeah,
the
yeah.
people that
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you're talking to.
You
what
can see them lean
resonates.
forward, yeah.
Right, and it actually was something that dawned on me as I was saying it. But I was talking about how when you make your customers the center of your web presence, in other words, instead of it being you, and you make the customers the center of even your web presence, the first thing that a customer feels or a prospect feels when they land on that website is that agent cares about their client. That's the first thing we see. They're not seeing that, aren't those pictures cute? Aren't those sweet? Isn't that a great marketing thing? The first thing that they feel is this agent really cares about their clients enough, and they feel comfortable enough in their relationships with those people that they have them all over their website. And that is something that in a moment, it may take an investment to make a website look really nice and do that, but that's an investment that carries over time. Isn't that a great marketing?
And whether and I want to end with one quick question with Valerie because we got to go. They're eyeing up our table right now. But whether you like it or not, you will never escape the bad reviews. But you can embrace the good reviews. You'll never. If someone wants to post something because they had a bad experience, they will find a place to.
Consumers are smart. They know the difference between
and whether
150 5-star ratings that they might see on another home search portal versus going somewhere and being able to see, a couple of ones that weren't so great. And there's a certain amount of humbleness that I actually like to see when agents aren't afraid to respond to bad reviews. Not in a very defensive way, just in a, it didn't work out. It's real life.
I win a lot of business because people say to me, Ravi, you're like the unrealtor.
Right.
And people want to engage with someone who's not trying to always be closing, who's not giving them the alternate closing. These scripted guys are like, if commission's the only objective, Mr. Buyer, or no, Mr. Seller, do we have your business and we just got to sort out commission? And then they say, okay, yeah, and then they, steer you back to that point on the chessboard. People don't want that.
Yeah. And on the last note, Valerie, we got to wrap up here. We're already at an hour. But why are buyers liars?
Guys are like,
because it comes back to the same thing.
Yeah. Well, people lie because they're afraid, because they don't trust you. And so, buyers lie for the same reason anybody else lies. They don't feel comfortable enough to tell the truth. So ultimately it comes down to, it's our responsibility to build trust.
Yeah, it is. And that's really where it comes down to all this. Reviews and follow-up. And once you build that trust, maintain that trust. It is. We can't ever put that on someone who doesn't want to feel like they can give you the real information. They're trying to learn how to trust you. And they're not going to be there and tell you to run the trust. And that's actually on you as an agent to let them find out who you are. And where I left off my talk was, and that doesn't happen anymore. No like and trust doesn't happen in person. No like and trust happens online. No and like happens online, and trust happens in person. But you have to get people to know and like you before they'll ever give it a shot at trust. That's how I feel.
And people share trust more than they share, hey, they were just a great real estate agent. They share that trust.
They are closing down the conference center around us. And you know what? We originally had this scheduled to be starting now.
Right.
Ravi had a plane that he's got to get to. And thank goodness, because we wouldn't definitely be here. So on that note, awesome conversation. Thank you guys for joining us. Ravi Singh. How do people get a hold of you? Tell me where you are. So they can send referrals to you. They can find you on Snapchat and Instagram. Give us all that stuff.
It's really simple. Every single handle, Snapchat, YouTube, Facebook, you name it.
Ravi had a plane that he's got to get to. And thank goodness, because we wouldn't definitely be here. So on that note, awesome conversation. Thank you guys for joining us. Beautiful. Ravi Singh. Valerie Garcia 1. People get a hold of you, ask you questions.
Search me online, but put the Remax or real estate after my name so that you don't get the Filipino one.
Absolutely, that is a true story. And Laura Monroe, this is our first time meeting in person, which is a bit of a thrill for me today. We did have a moment today. I've been on the show before, but I've been waiting for this moment for a very long time.
Me too.
How do people get a hold of you? How do people get a hold of Real Satisfied and Playster?
So I'm Laura Monroe. I'm just like you. I'm Laura Monroe. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere else.
What's your hair?
Best at Best Hair and RE.
We did have a moment today. We
That's
do.
okay. All right.
It's phenomenal today.
It is. Thank you. Right? Thank you. But that's where you can find me. Real Satisfied is realsatisfied.com. You can, check it out. You can send yourself a survey so that you can look what clients would be getting on their end. I just really encourage people to get feedback. Understand what it is that people love about you.
And Valerie, to interrupt, it's phenomenal. Don't measure it if you're not willing to change it. Real Satisfied is a lot about measuring, and when you do find out, then you have to be willing to improve it. You can change it. Improve your business. Playster.
Playster, Playster.com. You can go. This is, a website provider. A bunch of new tools that are coming
Jeff's
out.
been on the show before, and Seth's been on the show before.
Yes,
So there you go.
So two great guys.
I will link Jeff's episode up right here, and then Real Satisfied is a lot about measuring, and when you do find out, they'll be in the top corner with a little eye icon. I'll put them on. Link them up, and then you can watch those.
Great.
Thank you guys. This has been amazing. Great to get to know you, Valerie. As always, amazing events.
Good to
Laura
see you
Monroe,
in
good to meet
person.
you. It's fantastic. Next week's guest, Valerie, stick around. You got to pronounce it one more time. Next week's guest is Veronica Figueroa. And this is actually a recommendation from Val. So
She's awesome.
So what should we be digging in with?
She's just a really innovative broker owner out of Florida, and she just brings a lot of passion and culture to her business. So I think you're going to be able to dig in a lot
Next
to
week's
how
guest,
she does that.
Valerie, stick around. You got to pronounce it one more time.
Herself
That's next week, Friday, October 21st, 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern. I'm back with my co-host, the amazing Dave Falkwer. Thank you guys all for watching. And as Melanie Gallia of Remax Corporate wants us to end every show, please tell 5 other Remax agents about Mobile Agent TV. This has been an amazing ride. This is episode 110. It's been, I think, 3.5 years we've been doing this show. Phenomenal. Thank you guys all for watching. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being awesome. Hope we could bring a little bit of Remax Recharge for Boston to you. And they're turning off the lights. So thanks for watching.
See ya.
And as Melanie Gallia of Remax Corporate wants us to end every show, please tell 5 other Remax agents about Mobile Agent TV. This has been an amazing ride. This is episode 110. It's been, I think, 3.5 years we've been doing this show. Phenomenal. Thank you guys all for watching. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being awesome.